Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
Bill Eadie, Axe Demolition.
We're very happy to have you with us because a brand new Wrestling Insiders with Demolition Axe is now. Wrestling fans, we warned you this day would come. Unfortunately, we're running out of original episodes of Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty each and every Thursday night at 10 p.m., but we're starting up that Indiegogo. You can help the cause. You can help Marty's show continue each and every week. Nobody does it like Marty. We had an incredible time with him at our 20th anniversary bash, November 13th at Memorial Hall here in Melrose. We want to have the good times keep on rolling, but we can't do it without you. Look for the Indiegogo link in the comment section below or across our website and social media platforms. We have some great perks, great rewards where you can even meet Marty himself. There's nothing like it. Since July of 2020, every week we've brought you the show. We need your help to keep on going. We tell you, without wrestling fans, there is no professional wrestling, and there's no better time to help the cause now. Let's keep Marty rocking each and every Thursday night. Wrestling fans looking for the perfect holiday gift? Discount VIP packages and tickets to Boston Wrestling Soul Survivor 10 Back to the 80s, Saturday night, April the 16th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts are on sale now. Join WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts, three-time WWE Tag Team Champions Axe and Smash Demolition, The Wild Berzerker, and more 1980s legends to be announced. Take part in a VIP exclusive Q&A session. Meet the wrestling icons up close and personal in an autograph and photo fan fest. Then get ready as the superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow take part in a night of white-hot in-ring action. Discount VIP packages and tickets are on sale now for a limited time at bostonwrestling.com. Join us for a professional wrestling reunion decades in the making, April the 16th.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insiders. Dan Marty, Demolition Axe, Bill Eadie, the masked superstar. Were you Beppo Mongol?
Bolo.
Bolo? That almost sounds like a foreign language.
Yep.
You really have seen, you and, funny enough, you and Barry have both had a lot of gimmicks in your career, even though you're probably both, well, I don't know. Do you think you're best known as Axe or Masked Superstar?
I would say 50-50 on
50-50?
On those two.
Yeah. Yours is pretty close. With Barry, you know, I know Repo Man had quite the run, but I think most people would say Smash.
Yeah.
We've been having a lot of fun in these interviews, fans. Again, we ask you to comment in that premiere box that we have going. I'm sure my good friend Slick Rick B, Maria Davis from Bill's, not Barry's, hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is helping the cause, along with Tania, whatever your mystery name may be, my good friend. I hope you guys are all doing well tonight. If you're not joining us during the premiere, as always, leave some thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content today, baby, that super chat button, that little gray dollar sign, it's always open. Don't forget to tip the bartender if that wasn't enough. Help us get the word out to these wrestling fans that don't know we exist yet. There's millions upon millions of fans that gave up on wrestling in the 80s and the 90s that don't know us yet. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's free. When YouTube sees that you guys are engaging with us, they are more apt to share our programs with fans that haven't watched it yet. It's very simple. Also, you can share the link across social media, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, Facebook wrestling groups, wrestling websites. Let them know about these great shows. I cannot tell you, if you look at the thumbs down to thumbs up ratio, look at the positive feedback that we're getting on everything that we do. The more we can grow, the more we can help keep Wrestling Legends working. Two more quick, cheap plugs. I'll keep them quick. The eBay store is open 24/7. The link is in the description box below. Every piece of merchandise you buy helps us bring you more great legends, and you get an on-air shout-out from one of our featured superstars and legends thanking you for helping the cause. And one more time, if you don't just want to be a fan, if you just don't want to be a friend of the show, head on over to patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. I think I've said it so many times, Bill can recite it. You get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows. You get access to our acclaimed studio shoot interview library, hundreds of them. They've been seen by millions of fans online, millions more on the Howard Stern Show thanks to the Sheik. There's some Patreon exclusives. Bill and I did a great Patreon exclusive where we look back at WrestleMania 4, which was a lot of fun. The night Demolition won the tag team titles. And the most important thing that I continue to push upon you guys, because I know from my own point of view, in my almost 28 years of being involved in this crazy world of wrestling, when you're involved with Patreon, you are helping keep wrestling legends working. That is my passion. That is my passion. I love to see when we have our live events, independent, the young guys grow and become better professionals. That means a lot to me. But I want to see the wrestling legends working out of the ring in an easy platform like this. We have this beautiful TV studio at our disposal. I would love to see us producing several episodes a night. I don't know how I could physically do it as far as producing it,
right,
but I'd love to be able to attempt to have a few episodes each night for fans to enjoy, with the great legends being able to tell their stories, Bill.
Yeah, it'd be a task, but without the fans out there, this is nothing. You can help us. You can spread the word. So please help us.
Patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. For the price of a cup of coffee, you will have the time of your life, much like I was as a kid in 1987 in the second grade, as I was loving everything that was going on in the World Wrestling Federation. We're about, in the chronological order, if we've been discussing things, we're right around spring turning into summer. It's been about 6 months of Demolition. What's your thought process around that point, about half a year through? Are you happy as Demolition? Do you like the spot you're in? Do you like the money? Do you like the schedule? What's your thought process?
Yes to all of the above except the schedule. But that's part of the all of the above.
Sure.
Yeah, we were in a good spot, especially after winning the championship and making good money. And of course, we expected to be on the road, so that was real. So, yeah, it was a good time to be us.
Was it, you had been through the WWF previously as the Super Machine and Mass Superstar. Was it harder for Barry to get used to all the flights and that type of a schedule compared to you that had already done it a little bit?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you ever get used to all that stuff. Even as much as I've flown, even including now, it's just a routine you got to go through. The biggest thing, the most difficult thing is going through security. We had to carry the belts. So.
And think of how much easier security was even back then. Imagine now. Oh.
But they always wanted to take the belt out and walk
take a
around
picture,
with it.
yeah, or something like that.
Yeah,
Look at
so
it. Yeah.
You had to calculate an extra half hour going through there. So.
Well, you know what? I tell you, so even at that point, Demolition you'd probably look at as a mid-card tag team. It was good money?
Yeah.
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 Well, 87 was one of the better years the company ever had, so that's not surprising. Team that kind of came and went, 86 into 87. I know you worked them at least in Boston, because I was disgusted. I was disgusted that Demolition did the job for them. The Can-Am connection, Rick Martel and Tom Zenk. Before Tom Zenk left, you guys worked a little with them. Your memories of the pre-Strikeforce Rick Martel and Tom Zenk, who had a very short run?
Not too much. Rick, of course, I had matches with Rick in Montreal when I was up there as Mass Superstar. And like we were talking earlier on one of the videos, lots of fire, lots of excitement to his comebacks. And Zenk, compared to the two, Zenk was there. That's all I can say. Mm-hmm. Nothing negative, but
he just wasn't Rick Martel.
He wasn't Rick Martel. He wasn't Tito Santana, which later
Yeah.
became the Strike Force. So
Well, it seemed like they were being groomed for a great spot. I know I made a joke about, why Tom apparently left the company in one of the previous episodes, but, a shame for him. He lost out on probably having a very good run, making some very good money, just to kind of vanish off into no man's land.
Yeah.
Go back to the AWA, which was dying at that point.
yeah, and I never heard the actual reason for it. So we were involved in the matches, and if whatever decision he made, that's his decision.
They said it was Rick Martel that had kept up out of the bed like they'd never seen before, but that's a different story for a different time. Back to 1987, though. In the summer, we had the return of a very broken down superstar, Billy Graham, trying to wrestle. It was tough to watch.
Well,
I know he needed the money, but I mean, his body was just dilapidated.
Yeah, he's a different character.
Yes. That's what...
His relationship with WWE, WWF is on again, off again, on again, off again. There again, choices, right?
Talk about some of the bad... I could... If we had the time, I'd tell you about our Billy Graham experience that we had here, which was... It's a heck of a story. But, there is a part of him that is very nice, very charming, very kind, very interesting. And then there's the part of him that is... You talk about the underbelly and the sleaze of professional wrestling. It's like he's the personification of it.
Yeah,
It's strange. There's like two sides to him.
I never had many dealings or situations being around him. So, but I've heard that too.
Did you ever work him?
No.
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 But in '87, when they brought him back for that feud with Butch Reed, oh my God. I mean, he could barely walk.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, to his credit, to show what kind of a superstar he was, no pun intended. I mean, he sold out Madison Square Garden with Butch Reed in '87.
Did he?
And he could barely walk. So, I mean, there still were people that still loved superstar Billy Graham in 1987. Like you said, a very odd relationship throughout the entire history, even going back to probably the early 80s when Gorilla Monsoon used to pen a column for a Pennsylvania, I believe, newspaper, and he said that Billy Graham died. And there were people that thought that Billy Graham was dead, and when he came back and he did that karate gimmick and looked nothing like the '78 Billy Graham that was the world champion, there were people that really thought it was an imposter that was portraying the karate Billy Graham.
I didn't know that.
Well, the karate Billy Graham didn't get over so well.
No, it did not.
But
I remember Superstar Billy Graham.
Right.
And I remember the karate Billy Graham. I like the Superstar much better.
Well, I tell you, he made a great argument that the WWF World Championship should have stayed on him longer than it did before it transitioned to Bob Backlund. But as we know, Vince McMahon Sr. plotted things out far in advance. He knew when Billy was going to get it. He knew when Billy was going to lose it.
Oh, yeah.
And Bob Backlund had that just about a 6-year run as the guy on top. But Billy Graham, great charisma.
Yeah.
He was almost like Demolition, the type of heel that the fans wanted to rally behind and get behind.
If I remember correctly, he did good interviews too.
Oh, yeah, he was a hell of an interview.
Yeah.
Hell of an interview. Just an odd human being.
Yeah.
There were things you could really like about him, and then there were things, my God, you'd never want anything to do with the guy again. Look, I mean, Pat Patterson never forgave him before he passed away about some of the fictitious stories he created in the media during that 1992 circus of scandals that they had. I'll tell you this, he's got a very interesting book for the fans out there. If you like professional wrestling books, if you can find Billy's autobiography, it's really good, very detailed. He gets into finances, which I always find to be fascinating. How little money he was making when he was with the Crockett's before he came back to the WWF for that run where he had the hip surgery. And, they tried a lot with Billy Graham. It's just nothing seemed to work with him.
Right.
Was he a pleasant guy to be around in '87?
Well, you know what? I don't really remember because we weren't around him that much.
Mm-hmm.
There was always little factions or groups that, through their friendships, would associate more. But we never had any harsh words, or we never had any negative comments directed towards us from him. So,
Yeah, I guess you could either look at him as a charismatic friend or maybe a snake in the grass, depending upon the day of the week, I guess. Because I could say a lot of nice things about him too from our engagements with him, but he really caused some headaches for us back in 2009. But that's wrestling, I guess, as they say, right? There's a lot of unique personalities and people that we've met over the years. July 1987, very interesting time, and we talked about women's wrestling in some of these episodes. Sherri Martel finally ends the fabulous Moolah's forever streak as women's champion. Any memories of a younger Sherri Martel when she was a full-time wrestler?
She was one of the best female athletes in the business. Guys would actually watch her match because her matches were like ours. I often commented that, you know, I know she's a lady, but she works like a guy. I mean, she was good. She did good interviews. And she was always pleasant around us. I never saw her making any negative statements towards anybody. She was a professional.
Yeah, hellacious, I was even told. You know, at night, after the events, kind of a wild child, but in the ring, I mean, like you said, she went in there and worked like one of the boys.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
that's a compliment.
Yeah, it is a compliment.
Yeah.
Because there's women's wrestling, and then there's wrestling that Sherri did.
Yeah.
She just happened to be a woman, but she was wrestling as just as good as any of the guys.
Her passing really got to me. It really bothered me because I think you and I had talked about it, or it was someone that we had in recently, that, you know, all she needed to try and live a better life was a rod in her back.
Yeah,
and there was no one in WWF, WWE, you know, they don't pay for things like that. They don't handle medical issues. They'll help you with drug and alcohol rehab, but they won't help you with those kind of physical issues. And you know, my gosh, again, I'm going to say it, even if we did say it on a prior episode, for WWE, they'll spend six figures to send these talents to top-notch, first-class rehab facilities. But what could be done in a lot of cases at a much cheaper level is help out the talent with these physical issues where they may shy away from the drugs and the alcohol. That's what bothers me. I mean, I don't know how much the rod in Sherri's back would have cost, but, you know, she could be alive right now if she had it.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what sticks out to me and really bothers me.
And by helping with the medical pain, the injury pain that you have, then maybe that doesn't progress to the need to go to rehab.
Right.
So.
And again, and as we've noted, look at how many of the guys and girls they've sent to rehab multiple times.
Yeah.
Almost like it was a vacation. You know? I could only hope for a better future for the industry as far as that goes, where it's a more humane treatment for the people that actually make the action and excitement in the ring happen.
Right.
You know, but again, different story for a different time. We mentioned the fabulous Moolah, a woman who in recent years has been brutalized by some of the women that she trained. Stories about her pimping out some of the women that she trained. Stories of lesbian sex. Your memories of the fabulous Moolah. She was the kingpin of women's wrestling.
Well, there again, I mean, I had been in a couple territories, in particular, Georgia and Mid-Atlantic, primarily, that she was involved with, in and out. But, you know, I didn't associate with any of the females at that time, let alone Moolah, you know, I mean, she was supposed to be the queen, I guess. The only comment that I would make was I didn't see why she was still the champion at her age. it wasn't doing any credit to the women's wrestling.
No.
Actually was holding it back.
I think so.
So if I would have had any, excuse me, input, that would have been one of the things that I would have demanded.
Really?
A change, Get Sherri or one of the younger girls.
Well, they tried it with Wendy Richter, and that was the first version of the Montreal screw job, I guess, at MSG, when they had Moolah go out as Spider Lady under a mask and hook her.
Exactly.
For the pin, well, not hook her, but you know what I mean, get the fast pin to get the title off of Richter because she didn't want to sign the contract.
And what hold could Moolah possibly have on the promoter? Or that would be
Right,
Vince.
yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be Vince Sr. I mean, what photos did she have?
She had a lot of stroke. She
So-
was a major power player in this business, and I don't think people realize just how strong.
And it was probably, well, if you don't do this, you'll never use any of my girls. And she probably had all the girls. But in 2 or 3 years, any strong promoter could have developed her own stable.
Sure.
So, I don't know.
Did you ever hear any of those stories about her trying to
Not-
pimp the women out?
Not till recently, no.
No, recently. And what about even the more, what I would guess would be more common, her trying to hustle a big percentage of the girls' money and things like that? Did those stories make the
Well,
rounds
she's
back in the day?
she's not the only person that has done that in the
Really?
past. There's a lot of promoters that break guys in. They get a percent of the pay. So she was probably doing what another 5 or 6 promoters were doing. So,
Well, some of the girls had said it was big money. And then at one point she even got caught, I guess there was transportation money that was involved that each girl was supposed to receive, and she was even pocketing that too. So
well,
that's why she had the house on Moolah Drive in South Carolina,
Yeah.
wherever it may be. And I remember, I don't know if you're familiar with Sinister Minister James Mitchell. I think, you are, because we mentioned him in previous interviews. But when he was interested in going to become a wrestler, he actually went to the house. And he said it was unlike anything he'd ever seen. He said there were midgets working on cars, and there were little cabins like the movie Dirty Dancing that
Yeah,
all
I
the
heard
girls would live in. And
and she charged them rent, right?
yeah. So
That was like,
she really lived the gimmick when it came to the name Moolah.
yeah.
But nice to you?
We didn't have much interaction.
Yeah.
There again, they had their own separate dressing area. You might see her in the hallway, or they weren't in the locker room,
Yeah.
or, hello, how are you? Nice to see you, blah, blah, blah. That's it.
Was it difficult for the ladies to find a place to change? Because
No, they always had
they always had a.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Even in the small independent groups, they always set aside a female dressing room. I can't imagine with Vince or Vern or anybody else or the Mid-Atlantic that they didn't have their own area.
Well, interesting character. WWF really tried to, almost like we mentioned with Pat Patterson, they tried to pay homage to her by creating the fabulous Moolah Women's Battle Royal at WrestleMania as an annual tradition. And the backlash from the fans was so brutal, they scrapped it. They took her name off of it before the WrestleMania even took place. So that was an instance where they listened to the fans for sure. And,
Yeah.
and there are people, some have really gone out of their way to bury Moolah, and there are some that really stick up for her. So it's interesting. Again, we always talk about the different points of views from different people. Some think she was just a great, classy lady and one of the true icons of the business. Others think she's low-life scum. So it's kind of an
I
interesting
think
dynamic.
there again, I think it's who you're talking to and how they were treated.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no experience dealing with her, so I can't say.
Yeah, you didn't really have to deal with the women.
No.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Summer '87, we talked about Sherri Martel, the new women's champion. Big jump in the world of professional wrestling, coming from Bill Watts Mid-South, which was really starting to decline, unfortunately. That was a great territory.
It was.
Coming into the World Wrestling Federation, Was the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase? Your memories of I'm sure you came across Ted even well before that through the territories.
Yeah, Georgia, Mid-South, Japan.
Oh, even Japan too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ted was always a good worker. He was always, I believe I know his father was a wrestler, and maybe one of his uncles or something.
His adopted father and his mother were both wrestlers.
Okay, yeah. And
I'm not sure what his biological last name might be.
right. But
I and Mike DiBiase adopted him.
yeah. Yeah, nothing but positive. Ted was always a hard worker. Murdoch and I worked with him a number of times when we were in Mid-South.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had a couple matches with him when he came into Georgia. And at one time, and I don't know why it changed, there was scuttlebutt talk about him being the NWA champion.
I was just going to mention that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what transpired that they didn't give it to him, but
Well, it's a very select group of people that would even be in the conversation to have that championship given to them.
yeah.
And I think that says a lot about Ted. Even you go to WrestleMania 4, which we did a little watch along on. There was a lot of talk that he was going to be the guy to walk out of Atlantic City with the championship. He seemed like he was the guy that just the promoter was oh so close to pulling the trigger to putting it on him, and it just didn't wind up happening for whatever reason. He still had an outstanding career, one of the great gimmicks of the 80s and 90s, to say the least.
Yeah.
I mean, what an interesting selling point to get the call from Connecticut to say, come up, we want to talk with you. We've come up with this fantastic gimmick. We can't tell you what it is, but the best way to describe it is, if Vince was going to become a wrestler, this is the gimmick he would give himself. If you were Ted DiBiase, would you have been sold on that?
Well,
or would
of
you
course,
have wanted more
of course.
information?
I remember years ago, in my own personal experience, when I was one of the Mongols, and George Scott, who was the promoter, and well, not the promoter, the booker in the Carolinas, called me into the office. He said, I've got this idea I want to run by you. And I was young, green, inexperienced, and he proposed the Mass Superstar. First thing that registered in my head was ding, ding, ding. If the promoter and the booker like it, it's going to work. I'm going to make money. And of course I'm going to do it. Why wouldn't he?
If it's their idea,
Yes.
they're obviously
They're not
going
to say that they were wrong.
Right.
Or they may say it, but it's going to take a lot longer to make that decision than well, you came up with this, it's no good. I came up with it, it's good.
Did you ever, maybe even yourself, I've been told by different individuals in the studio, there was some resentment towards Ted with the treatment that he received with that gimmick. They wanted him to live it. He flew first class. He had the limousines waiting for him. They always had wads of cash for him to spend. They wanted him to portray $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase everywhere he went, which, as he has been very open in his book and his documentary, led to a life of alcohol and women and substance abuse and cheating on his wife. And I think, and I admired Ted for being so honest about it. Did some of the guys resent the excess that Ted was given compared to you guys being squashed in coach?
You know what, I was never aware of that. That was the character. What are they going to fly Hogan in coach or basic economy? If they're pushing that character, I'll be very honest. When it took place, the only thing that I thought, and not anything against Ted, because Ted's a good friend of mine, the guy that should have been the $1 Million Man was Ric Flair.
Would have been a great gimmick for him.
Because he does spend and lives like a millionaire. For him to get that push, that's the only negative that I can say about that. I thought, if you're going to make $1 Million Man, you already got one. Just give him the title.
Great gimmick, wrong guy?
I don't say it's the wrong guy.
Or maybe it could have been a better guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would have been an interesting way to, because the way they brought Flair in once they had that chance with him, when he was the NWA World Champion at the time without losing the title. Oh my God. You talk about the ball being dropped, but that's a different story for down the road. But yeah,
But
I mean,
can't you see that though?
Oh yeah.
I mean, every wrestling fan.
He already was the $1 million
He was
man. He
the
just
na-
didn't have the name.
He was, if Flair had $1 million, he'd spend $3 million.
Yeah. And he would
So
have loved
it-
the fact that WWF was the one paying for it instead of out of getting.
Exactly.
Well, think of all the financial trouble the poor guy has gotten himself into.
Yeah, but as
over the years.
far as Ted, I mean, he did a good part. He lived the character. But the only thing that I didn't care for was the in-ring costumes. They didn't look like $1 million.
Those tuxedo things?
Yeah, with the dollar signs, and he could have come out in a tuxedo. He could have come out in a new suit, a different suit every time, but he didn't. So the concept was good. That's not Ted's fault. That's the people pushing its fault. Mm-hmm. They didn't go far enough.
I thought the vignettes where they introduced him, and I don't know if you've ever even seen them, where you say you've seen such limited TV where you were on the road so much.
Right.
But did you ever see how the vignettes, how they introduced him when he'd go to a swimming pool and he'd buy it and he threw all the kids out in the middle of the summer? And oh my God, you talk about the creative vignettes they came up with for Ted to introduce that $1 million man character. It's no reason, I'm losing my train of thought. That's the reason why it got over so strong.
Yeah.
Those vignettes, and not just for Ted, but for everybody, when they actually used to invest the time to take 4 to 6 weeks to come up with those 2 to 3 minute vignettes, before the guy was even on TV for a match, the fans were familiar with him and he was already over.
Oh yeah, I understand.
Over like $1 million.
And my comments are not anti.
No, I understand. Anti-Ted.
Ted.
It's just how you would have if you were booking it, how you would have portrayed it.
I would have booked it differently. I would have booked, of course, I would have booked Ted, but I would have booked Ted as something else. As the $1 Million Man, I thought that originally. That was my concept, and it never changed. Flair was the guy. Flair, people that know Flair, he's the $1 Million Man. He might not have the $1 million, but he lives it, he loves it, he is it. So.
Interesting thought. Do you think Ted would have made a credible WWF World Champion?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good worker, dedicated, could handle probably any situation.
If you had the pencil at WrestleMania 4, would you have put the title on him or Savage?
Oh goodness, I don't know. You have to know the behind-scenes plans and what's coming up 6 months ahead of time or 6 weeks ahead of time.
Well, we'll get there once we get to 1988, but there's a lot of people that blame the Honky Tonk Man for it, with his issues that he had refusing to drop the Intercontinental title to Randy at that big main event NBC show the month before. But we'll talk 1988 soon enough, fans. We're still talking 87. We'll be back with more Wrestling Insiders after this brief timeout. Wrestling fans, we warned you this day would come. Unfortunately, we're running out of original episodes of Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty each and every Thursday night at 10 p.m., but we're starting up that Indiegogo. You can help the cause. You can help Marty's show continue each and every week. Nobody does it like Marty. We had an incredible time with him at our 20th anniversary bash, November 13th at Memorial Hall here in Melrose. We want to have the good times keep on rolling, but we can't do it without you. Look for the Indiegogo link in the comment section below or across our website and social media platforms. We have some great perks, great rewards where you can even meet Marty himself. There's nothing like it. Since July of 2020, every week we've brought you the show. We need your help to keep on going. We tell you, without wrestling fans, there is no professional wrestling, and there's no better time to help the cause now. Let's keep Marty rocking each and every Thursday night. Wrestling fans looking for the perfect holiday gift? Discount VIP packages and tickets to Boston Wrestling Soul Survivor 10 Back to the 80s, Saturday night, April the 16th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts are on sale now. Join WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts, three-time WWE Tag Team Champions Axe and Smash Demolition, The Wild Berzerker, and more 1980s legends to be announced. Take part in a VIP exclusive Q&A session. Meet the wrestling icons up close and personal in an autograph and photo fan fest. Then get ready as the superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow take part in a night of white-hot in-ring action. Discount VIP packages and tickets are on sale now for a limited time at bostonwrestling.com. Join us for a professional wrestling reunion decades in the making, April the 16th.
It hits different live with WWE Super Show. Don't miss an epic main event.
Drew McIntyre and Kofi Kingston, King Woods, The New Day, Roman Reigns, and the Usos in a six-man tag team match.
Will the new arrivals on the Blue brand disrupt the dominance of the Bloodline? It's WWE Super Show in Boston, Sunday, January 9th. Tickets and Superstar Experience packages on sale now.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
Support Wrestling Insiders in-studio shoot interviews on eBay with this brand new personally autographed WWE Royal Rumble 2021 11x14 poster signed by WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, his advocate Paul Heyman, and Kevin Owens. Reigns and Owens battled for the Universal title in a last standing match January 31st in the Thunderdome in Tampa. This limited edition collector's poster is number 31 of only 50 produced. Comes with WWE authentication hologram on the poster itself. Also comes with an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas and a bonus autographed 8x10 photo. Get this rare, awesome collectible for your man cave and help keep wrestling legends working now. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back as we continue to plow through the year that was 1987. Very happy and proud to be, hide those, kayfabe those glasses, baby.
Well, I need
They want to see those beautiful eyes.
See.
They want to see those handsome eyes that Sue gazes at every night at home down in Georgia.
And tries to hit.
Tries to hit?
Yeah.
What do you mean hit?
Well, I always screw up, so
Gives you a little... All right.
The kids always used to say that I teach with, Mr. Edie, what's wrong with your hands? I say, guys, I've done a lot of things bad. And every time I do something bad, my wife breaks one of my fingers. So they think she's really mean.
You want to hear a great story on a rib that I did this? It's kind of funny because of the reaction of another person. You met the youngest one, but the older of the two. The first time, before he was even born, I took my ex and him to, a Disney World vacation, and we went to SeaWorld. And his father was an abusive person. And it was tough on him, especially in his youth. But he was being too much with the mother. So I said to him, if you put your hands anywhere near your mother again, I'm going to break your finger. And he acted a little scared for a minute, but about a half an hour later, he did the same thing. I said, all right, I'm going to break your finger. So whatever attraction it was, we left. And we went and sat down on some bench or whatever it was. So I said, you're going to learn your lesson. I'm going to break your finger. And then I'll never remember the reaction of this old woman that was sitting on the bench.
I'll bet.
Not knowing what I was going to do. So I said, give me your hand right now. I grabbed him by his hand. He's terrified at this point. And I said, I told you to behave yourself. And I went, and you should have heard him cry and scream. And that's exactly what I did. I made the sound with my tongue and just pulled my hand up over his finger. It didn't cause him an ounce of pain. Then after about 30 seconds of crying, he realized, he's like, wait a minute.
I'm crying for nothing.
He didn't do anything. But if you saw the look on, the old woman got up and left because she thought there was this horrible child abuse going on. Yeah. I'm surprised she didn't go and get security, especially if it was ever now. In 2021, forget it.
Oh,
but
yes, yeah.
He learned his lesson that day. I got him good on that one. I thought that was kind of funny. But anyway, for the fans at home that think I'm now a serial working child abuser, I apologize. 1987, as summer started to turn to fall, we had Ted DiBiase becoming $1 million man. We had almost like what we see happening nowadays with tag teams on the babyface side. Sometimes you take a couple of guys that you have nothing going on with, see if there's any chemistry together. You and Bill worked a lot with Billy Jack Haynes and Ken Patera, kind of a unique team.
Yeah. I don't know what they were planning on doing with them. I know that both of them were originally brought in to be singles.
Right.
Whether they didn't have any slots for them or not. Yeah, and I don't know how long they lasted as a team.
Not long, because Billy Jack was gone by the beginning of '88.
Right. He didn't like the massive traveling.
Billy Jack?
He hated it. It's a funny story. When he first came in, I remember him, you know, I knew Billy Jack occasionally from bumping into him in different territories. And he was sitting there at the table for the lunch table, and personnel from the office would come around and they'd give you a stack of tickets, and somebody else would give you a stack of papers for this or that. And I remember him looking at it and said, "What's that?" And somebody said, "That's your tickets for the month." He said, "Are you kidding me?" And it was about that thick. So that meant that you have to go now and schedule to rent a car, schedule your hotel rooms. Nobody's going to do it for you. So Fuji would do some, I would do some, and Barry would do some. So
you
we
divvied
split
it up.
Yeah.
Were you guys around when Linda McMahon created the travel company where you'd essentially pay them to do it?
No.
I thought that was a good work.
Yeah, but why
Isn't that
why
something?
would we need to do that anyway?
Well, just to make life a little easier.
No, I'm saying, why would we have to pay?
That was the gimmick.
Yeah.
That was the gimmick.
We're working for them, aren't we?
Well, it was technically a different company.
Yeah.
So Linda started her own company where they would be kind enough.
Feeding off the guys that's working for a husband's company.
Exactly. And they'd set up all your hotels, they'd set up all your rent-a-cars and make life nice and easy for you.
Yeah. So instead of paying $90 a night for the room, you're paying $99, but they're actually getting it for $70.
Yep.
And then a rent-a-car is jacked up at 20%. So no, we weren't there then. And
you didn't enjoy the.
My question would have been, why in the hell do we have to do this? You're making the schedule. Why don't you make the schedule and give us the stuff?
Do you think it would have ever been easier? And I know because I worked with Ed Cohen, and he told me what just early on in the company for the first 6, 7 years or so, it was a nightmare trying to coordinate just the schedule where they had so many towns and to try and regionalize it as it is present day pre-coronavirus when, you know, it's 4 days on, 3 days off, but those 4 days, almost always you can navigate in a car as opposed to flying.
That's the way it should have been.
Do you think even if they kept the schedule the way it was, the insanity of it, if they did like how they travel in Japan, if they had a tour bus set up for you guys, do you think it would have helped? I mean, I know they say, oh, everybody has a different eating schedule and sleeping schedule and a...
What would have helped was you fly into St. Louis. Your main shot is St. Louis. Your other town is 155 miles from St. Louis. You come back, stay in St. Louis. Someplace up in Illinois, 200 miles, come back. 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, make the one flight, rent the car for the week, have the hotel for the week, make the next loop. That would have worked.
Well, the way Ed explained it to me was, again, it was like Wild West booking back then. They were just trying to get into any building they could at any time.
When they could do it.
Right.
And to keep the other groups out.
And to screw with the other groups too, right, right. So that was the main point of contention. But, I mean, do you think a bus could have worked to try and help the guys? Or do you think really that the personalities and the life schedules were so different it would have been tough?
In Japan, it's different because they've got total control of you. If you miss the bus, which a couple guys did, or you're late for the bus,
You missed the bus.
which a couple guys did, you're going home the next day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, not even catch up. You
No.
you go home.
You're going home.
Really?
They don't need you.
Wow. Talk about respect.
Yeah, and they really don't need you because they can get on the phone and fly another top guy in there, or an underneath guy, or a middle guy in there, because they all want to go to Japan. I wouldn't want to be sitting on a bus waiting for Marty Jannetty to make the shot. You know what I'm saying?
What if they set up the same rules and regulations? Maybe a little different than in
they
Japan,
wouldn't.
but what if they just said, okay, the bus leaves at 9. If you're not down at 9, you find your own way to the next
Well,
town.
if they would do that, but you're never going to work for us again, ever. But they do. You follow what I'm saying? The conversation we
don't-
had way back.
Yeah, right. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I'm just saying maybe in a more modernized American way, you know, we're going to have the bus, we're going to transport you, we're leaving at 9. If at 9:01 you come downstairs, that bus will be gone, and then you're responsible to get there.
See, in wrestling time, 9 o'clock in the morning.
It's about 10:30.
No. Used to mean 8:45 sharp.
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about in Japan.
No, in the United States.
How so?
The old timers, and even when Barry and I were in the Mid-Atlantic area, if you're going to meet, say, Wahoo, to pick up a ride, he said, I'll meet you at 5. You better be there at 4:45, because at 5 o'clock, he's leaving. He's leaving. I'm leaving. Barry's leaving. And guys knew that. But the guys that we had in that territory then, probably now too, both groups, they'll wait 15 minutes. So 15 minutes is now 30 minutes. 30 minutes is 45 minutes. Then you're racing, then you get to the building late.
Right.
If I can make it on time, it's Vince Lombardi time. And there again, I got that from my athletic involvement, sports. If the coach said, be here at 9, you're there before 9. If you're not on the bus, you're not going to go, and your butt's going to go home.
Can you think of anybody in Japan that happened to?
Oh, yeah. The one guy that became one of the Freebirds.
Terry Gordy?
Not Terry Gordy, no. Terry
Hayes?
was,
Michael Hayes?
nope, the blonde
Buddy
guy.
Roberts?
Buddy Roberts. And his old partner, the first partner. They were the blondes.
Oh, the Hollywood Blondes.
Yeah.
Jerry Brown?
Yep, Jerry Brown.
Okay. Both
didn't-
of them?
They didn't get sent home for missing the bus. They got sent home for not going to restaurants and keeping up their health and not showering. They'd come on, it was about 3 or 4 days into the tour, like a 5-6 week tour. And Peter Takahashi, who was the head referee at the time, said, you guys no take shower. And he said, so what? So that went on for 3 days. The 4th day, they got on the bus, and the driver of the bus and Peter said, you guys need to get off bus. Why? He says, you go home today. Yeah, because Japanese are a very clean population. But that's one instant. Of all guys that were never late, Mike Sharpe, who was habitually
Well,
late.
you know what? Iron Mike probably loved it over there.
Who was habitually late because he knew he had to be there.
What do you mean he was?
He was habitually late here in the States. Last one in the building, got locked in the building a couple times.
That was for his showering, though, wasn't
Yes.
it? Yeah.
But that wouldn't happen in Japan, because if he was stuck in the building for an hour after the matches, they'd have sent him home.
The bus would have been long gone.
They'd have sent him home.
Yeah. Did Mike ever go over to Japan and have a situation like that?
No,
that you know? Okay.
I was in Japan.
You were just using that as
no,
an
no,
analogy.
I was in Japan with Mike a couple times.
Oh, were you?
No problem at all. He knew that if it meant 9 o'clock leaving, at 9 o'clock leaving.
He took a shower
Yeah,
early.
took a shower at the hotel room. But I'm not the only one.
Uh-huh.
You ask any of the guys, they're not going to wait on the bus for 15, 20 minutes when we got there.
Nor should they.
So-
Nor should they.
That wasn't good. It would be better to get the cars.
Were there any, can you think of any other guys that ran into that issue where it wasn't being late for the bus, but cleanliness that cost them spots? I know Vader was one that the guys would always talk about that stunk. His name,
No, I was never
They
around.
called him Leon Ripe instead of Leon White.
No, I was never around. No, I don't recall.
Tony said, Tony Atlas said the worst that he ever worked with was Randy. He said Randy stunk to
Randy.
high, Savage. He said he stunk to high heaven because he didn't do laundry because it costs money.
Well, that might be, but I don't know. I don't know.
Oh my! But Iron Mike Sharpe. Who knows if his name is ever going to come up again in these conversations? You know, there's a guy that really spent the majority of his career trying to make other people look good and trying to stay clean at the same time.
When I was first came in as a superstar, they were going to give Mike a big push.
Really?
Yeah.
And what happened?
He showed up late for the building. He showed up late for interviews.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it because of the obsession with showers?
Yes,
Or was real?
yeah.
He's
Yeah. Cost him a top spot.
From what I do recall, again, it was before my time as a fan. He did kind of reach maybe like a mid-card level, and maybe
Yeah.
that was the point where they were gonna
push
him a little bit.
They were going to push him to work against Backlund. He was going to have a good push.
But because of these showers,
Yeah. He would show up late to the building because he was preparing to come to the building.
he was that obsessed with being clean.
Oh my God.
And I tell you this, people that know me know I am the ultimate germaphobe. If I go to long before coronavirus, if I go to a hotel, I have my little bag, I have a package of spray, I rub down phones, remote controls, I wash down the mattress on the bed, because God only knows when the last time that was clean.
Yep.
I wash down the headboard. My ex used to think I was nuts, but you know what? I was prepared for coronavirus.
Yeah.
But even I wasn't
It was
as
a
bad.
day off for you.
What's that now?
It was a day off for you.
Exactly. With Iron Mike, he was even worse than me. I mean, all I've ever heard about are these showers.
Showers, and Mike would have, we put on deodorant.
Yeah.
Mike would put on a half a container of deodorant. He'd carry his own toilet paper. He carried his own foot spray, because we brought newspapers, and he put newspapers on the floor and then wash his feet before he'd step on the papers, and then put his socks on. And then when he was lacing up his boots, it would take him an hour to lace up his boots, because
Why?
if they weren't perfectly in each loop, he'd take them all apart.
So maybe he had OCD.
Oh,
something.
he had OCD .2.
Marty told the story on this show where I think he said when he was trying to get, pumped up a little bit to get ready for the match, he instead of touching the floor, he'd put down the rolls of toilet paper and do the push-ups off of the toilet paper. Is that true?
I never saw that, but I knew he would do it on paper. Yeah.
He
And
cost
Mike, you couldn't
himself his
find
career.
you couldn't find a nicer guy.
Really?
He he was always happy. He was always he was
Clean.
intent. I mean, Mike would work from the time he got to the building. Let's say he got to the building at 5, until after the tapings, discounting the time he was in the ring, he was working out, push-ups, squats, all that time.
At one point, I think they would actually, maybe before Dino Bravo, they would call him Canada's strongest man.
Yeah.
Was he someone that was kind of, even though he didn't have that gassed up look, was he a really strong
Oh
guy?
my goodness, he was naturally strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. He looked like he was
He
kind of...
probably did, and I never sat and counted, but Mike probably did 1,000 push-ups a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was just constantly working out and constantly showering.
Yeah.
What a shame, though. I mean, you know, did you ever work him?
I work with Mike, yeah.
How was he to work with in the ring?
Good.
Well, good?
Yeah. A little stiff,
Yeah.
but you can't complain about it. I mean, he was stiff in the right places.
Yeah. Hit hard in safe places,
Yeah,
right?
you're not. He wasn't going to punch you in the eye,
Yeah.
across the back or the chest or stuff like that. So
Well,
I occasionally did that myself.
you were the same way?
Yeah.
Now, were you known for being stiff?
No,
No. No.
I
but
was snug.
snug.
There's a difference between snug and snug is comfortable that you know I'm there. As versus loose and you didn't know what to sell. Versus stiff, is it going to hurt you? No.
Was your style any different in America than Japan?
A little more snug in Japan. Yeah,
That makes sense.
and faster.
And faster, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, wrestling fans, another episode has come and gone. The Iron
And
Mike's...
we're still not through the year.
Oh, we're not even close. We still, the next episode, we have to finish the question we just started, but I'm still in hysterics over the Iron Mike Sharpe story. The show, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I know about the little quirks that I have when it comes to cleanliness, and it doesn't compare to the Iron Mike Sharpe stories I've heard. But I hope you guys had some laughs. I hope you guys had some fun on tonight's Wrestling Insiders. Again, leave your thoughts if you're with us during the premiere and the premiere chat. Don't forget the super chat button is always open. Don't forget to tip the bartender if you come across this episode after the premiere. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. We'd love to know what you think. Again, you can help this show in many, many ways grow so we can bring you more great legends and superstars. Maybe have Bill on 5 nights a week. Give the show a thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Both are absolutely free. It lets YouTube know that you like what we're doing, and they showcase our video to more and more fans that don't know we exist right now. And unfortunately, there are millions of them, like the millions of lapsed fans that loved 80s wrestling, and the millions of lapsed fans that loved the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars in the 90s. We want those fans to check out these shows because I truly believe they will love them once they find them. Of course, there are other ways you can help. You can share the link across social media. Everybody's on their phone nowadays, Bill. Everybody's on their computer, their tablet, whatever it may be. There's Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, Facebook wrestling groups. There is
Instagram.
Instagram. There's all those wrestling, what they call dirt sheet type websites. Let them know what we got going on. And of course, the two major ways you can help the financial burden that we face. The link to the eBay store is in the description box below. We have great wrestling merchandise with superstars from every era. Not only do you get the merchandise for your collection, you help keep the wrestlers working, and we give you an on-air shout-out on this program. What more could you ask for other than this? Because if you don't just want to be a friend of ours on the show, if you don't just want to be a fan, if you want to join the Boston Wrestling MWF family, head on over to Bill's favorite website, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling, where for about the cost of a cup of coffee over at Starbucks, you get early ad-free access to all of these talk shows. You get access to hundreds of studio shoot interviews that have been seen by millions online and millions around the world on Howard Stern, thanks to Sheiky Baby. You get some Patreon exclusives and the knowledge that your fine self, when you lay your head down on the pillow to go to sleep, you have the knowledge knowing that you're helping keep wrestling legends working during some very difficult times due to coronavirus. Again, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Check it out. And if you can only do one more thing, Bill, I know you have it, probably forget about pencil and pen. Save the date. Memorial Hall in Melrose, 2 blocks down the road from where we create this world of craziness here in Boston Wrestling MWF. It is not just going to be Back to the 80s WrestleFest, where you'll be able to interact, meet and greet, and have a Q&A with the wrestling greats from the 80s that are coming your way. It's amazing that myself and a friend from high school have maintained this crazy for 20 years. So let me tell you, you're going to love meeting the 80s legends. We're going to have a great tribute to these legends, but the in-ring action that will feature the superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, it's going to be balls to the wall, because every one of those young athletes that you're going to see that you may have never even heard of yet, they're going to have the chance to pick the brains of some of the greatest legends to ever step foot in the ring. It is going to be an event you're not going to forget as a fan. It's going to be a night that the wrestlers themselves aren't going to forget. Again, ticket information will be forthcoming on BostonWrestling.com. For my partner in crime in this series, the legendary Bill Eadie, I am the much more humble Dan Marty. Until we speak again, you and yours be well, stay healthy. Good night.
Thank you for joining us. Please give the video a big thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel to enjoy more great content. Don't forget, you can help keep wrestling legends working. Check out our eBay store and join the Boston Wrestling family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling so we can produce more in-depth shoot interviews.